All right, good afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on The Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. And before I get started, I want to send a special shout out to the new subscriber, Marco Brolo. I really appreciate your subscription. Welcome to the show. Everyone, thanks for joining. Before I get into SmackDown talk, let's talk about the elephants in the room. So, a couple of big things have been going on throughout this week. Number one, it was reported that Stephanie McMahon will be stepping down from her job to be a family woman, I guess, and just get to know her family a little bit more, according to what was said on media. However, she will be stepping down in her regular duties in her job that she does in WWE. And I don't know who's going to take over, but well wishes in all her endeavors. Also, let's discuss the bigger elephant in the room. So, earlier this week, everyone's been talking about it, and I gotta talk about this. Earlier this week, there was set to be a six-pack challenge to determine who would go on to face Be- Bianca Belair at Hell in a Cell pay per view on June the 5th. However, that was turned into a one-on-one match between Asuka and Becky Lynch, a match that Asuka ended up winning. Obviously, Asuka is way better than Becky Lynch. Also, in an unseen footage, it was hilarious that referees had to hold Becky Lynch down as Cody Rhodes was coming to the ring. That was hilarious. Of course, she's mad because he's rivaling with her husband, Seth Rollins. However, the big news is that in the six pack challenge, we had what was supposed to be Asuka, Becky, Dewdrop, aka Piper Niven, Nikki ASH, Sasha Banks, and Naomi. It was reported that Sasha and Naomi came to the office of Mr. McMahon and put their women's tag team championship belts on the desk and walked out of the show. Now, according to the news, it was said that Sasha and Naomi felt unappreciated and disrespected as a tag team, stating that apparently the tag team division, them as a tag team, and their division doesn't get a lot of appreciation and respect. So, due to that, and also apparently, I can't guess who the two were, but apparently, despite 8 hours of rehearsal, there were two women in that in the other four, two out of the other four women, there were two of them that I either Sasha, Naomi, or both were uncomfortable wrestling with at the time. I don't know if it was Piper Niven, Dewdrop, Nikki ASH, Becky, or Asuka, but one of those in two caused discomfort for Boston Glow. So, due to that, Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of Raw completely. And so, this has a lot of people talking, and Michael Cole reported this during an episode of tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. And he said, and apparently, just like Corey Graves, he someone whispered in his ear and told him to say what he said. Because Corey Graves, who scriptingly has beef with Sasha, said they were unprofessional, and that was Monday. Tonight, Michael Cole said that Sasha and Naomi let a lot of fans down, which I have to disagree with because, according to the response, a lot of people are standing with Sasha and Naomi. So I don't really think that Sasha and Naomi necessarily upset anyone. I'm sure they were fighting for a cause, kind of like how, you know, how when Rosa refused to get out of the chair, off the seat in the bus, I guess they're fighting for something. However, unfortunately, it's going to take some work because whatever it is they're fighting for, obviously the message was not heard by WWE because they suspended them indefinitely. Why? Maybe it was unprofessional, but I'm sure they did it with a good point. Come on, guys. Hear the people out. That's all I got to say. Hear the folks out. Don't just punish them like that. Come on. I'm sure they did it for good reason. But either way, let's get on to tonight's broadcast because I had to talk about that. But let's get into tonight's broadcast. We had Roman Reigns open up the show at 629 days as champion, with the Usos being at 305 days as champion. And Roman laid down the gauntlet saying that if you guys lose, you don't have a seat at the table. And obviously Roman's the head of the table and Usos sit at the table, and Sami Rusty Zane is the butt of the table. But either way, moving forward, speaking of Sami and Shinsuke Nakamura had a match tonight as the first match of the evening, and it was a match that it wasn't NXT Dallas. That match between those two was awesome. And may I just say, I miss the days where Sami would put on great matches. And he had a great match when he won the Intercontinental Championship back from Shinsuke a couple of months ago. That was good. However, he lost it again to Ricochet, but that was a good match. But I'm just saying it's not as good as it used to be, if you know what I mean. Sami ain't the way he used to be ever since he started crying about conspiracies and becoming Rusty Sammy, if you will. Nonetheless, the match was okay, and what happened was we saw Sami reap what he sowed because he tried last time they met to win a match by countout successfully. This time he almost lost by countout, but when he got to the ring at the 9 count, he was relieved only to get Kinshasa! Because that's how Pat McAfee was reacting at the announce table. Pat McAfee was awesome. And why y'all didn't show Pat McAfee dancing? A night is not complete without Pat dancing to Shinsuke's theme. It's not the same. Why y'all didn't do that? Rick Boogs is already recovering from injury. Come on, guys, make the show interesting. So, nonetheless, Shinsuke wins. However, in short news, we have the big bald wolf comes out and explains his actions and tries to make a gif out of crushing Madcap Moss's neck. Speedy recovery, we wish you, Madcap. Also, Big Bald Wolf was not smiling, but I think he's slowly morphing back to his old lone wolf self. The big bald lone wolf, that is, with the ridiculous hat. And also, we had a SmackDown short tonight. Now, last week we celebrated a night of no SmackDown shorts, but we returned to having a couple of SmackDown shorts tonight, and one of them was Gunter. Why did I say that word? Walter defeating Drew Gulak in short fashion and then putting him in the walls of Jericho. Or should I say the Boston Crab, unless the Jericho Appreciation Society isn't doing it. But he put him in the Boston Crab, and Ricochet came in. And as much as a piece of me doesn't want to have to admit this, let's just face it, guys. Because Ricochet came towards Walter, Walter's going to face Ricochet, and Walter's going to win, obviously, which means Walter's going to reign as Intercontinental Champion for a pretty long time. As much as I like Ricochet, he's no match for Walter. And on this channel, we call him Walter because Gunter is a ridiculous name, especially with the history to it. Moving forward, Max, all I gotta say is this. Max Dupree. Why y'all do this? Why? 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 It's bad enough. It is bad enough that Pete Dunne had to go to being butch and just maybe Butch might get over it at some point, but Pete Dunne was the guy that had so many great matches. The Bruiserweight. Pete Dunne had so many great matches. Remember when he won the NXT UK Championship for the first time at NXT Takeover, what was that? Chicago, 2017. 5 stars. We want that guy. I see why Adam Cole went to AEW. I see why. Lord knows what they would have did to him if he had came on Raw and SmackDown. And Tommaso Ciampa's on Raw, and he's just an afterthought. But either way. But I'm going to be patient with this thing. I'm going to give it some hope. Moving forward. Raquel, the smiling face Rodriguez versus Shotzi. Shotzi and Aaliyah continue to fight because someone pushed someone in the locker room and things like that. And she had the nerve to call Raquel 6-foot disappointment and wasted opportunity. Well, at least Raquel never said I quit. But hey, Shotzi's got potential too. But like JR says, you don't buy groceries off potential. But either way, speaking of which, the potential didn't go down as planned for her tonight because Raquel, with a smile on her face, continues to destroy the competition. It was about maybe 7 minutes of pretty fair competition, and then Raquel went for the corkscrew splash, and I really must say, that one-handed powerbomb, pretty good. Moving forward, we have Xavier Woods versus the man I mentioned earlier, Pete Dunne. Now, some of you have seen me get mad about I don't scream. For those of you who are new to this, I don't scream like that often. That's the only time I've ever done that. I want you to know that. But either way, Pete Dunne, where the heck was I? Darn it. I forgot what I was going to say. Nonetheless, Xavier Woods challenged Pete Dunne to come out as Butch and face him one-on-one with no backstage interferences because this numbers game thing is becoming a bit familiar and almost predictable. But either way, moving forward, the match was about maybe less than 10 minutes long before Xavier Woods went for the roll up. 1, 2, 3. Xavier wins, and Pete Dunne runs stomping through the crowd. And before Woods can celebrate, Ridge and Sheamus, Shake It Sheamus, is behind him, and Butch attacks. And Xavier throws out a challenge for next week to be a 6-man tag match. Now, we all know Big E is out on a broken neck, so who's it going to be? Cesaro was released, so they said it's somebody that Sheamus and Ridge won't like. I have no guesses. But let's get down to the main business at hand. The Unification Match, which, to be honest, we saw the whole thing coming. RK Bro versus the Usos with Heyman on commentary. It is 2001 all over again. Ironically, the other day I watched Michael Cole and Paul Heyman do commentary in London, England for Insurrection and the handicap match between The Undertaker versus the 2-man power trip, Stone Cold and Triple H, which The Undertaker won, by the way. Either way, moving forward, we have the match. And it started off very serious very early because after an Irish whip into the turnbuckle, Riddle hurt his back. And he hurt his back for real because this right here, whenever they do that sign, that means that they are hurt for real. So this is what you don't want to see. You don't want to see this because that is for real. Say you can say wrestling is the F word and whatnot, but when they put that X sign up, that means someone is hurt for real. So obviously Riddle was hurt, but he was able to continue, but he got isolated for a little bit. Then Randy Orton came in like a house of fire, giving Jimmy Uso the DDT and the RKO before Jay broke it up. Riddle got in, which I thought was a bad idea considering his injuries. And yes, you have adrenaline pushing through you when you're in a fight. Because if you watch action movies, they tell you that when you get shot and you have a lot of adrenaline, you don't feel the pain of the bullet. That's something I never want to know because I'm just not a gun guy. But either way, oops, I shouldn't have said that. But either way, continuing, I digress. Riddle gets in, not the best idea because he's sore, obviously. And when he was getting ready to go for that rolling thunder bomb that he does over the top rope, Paul Heyman makes a distraction because he gets quiet on commentary. First of all, I got to do something I didn't get a chance to do. You got to do this for SmackDown. That's how Pat McAfee does it. I just had to do that with a pencil. But either way, moving forward, when he was about to go for the rolling thunder splash, Paul Heyman distracted the referee and Roman Reigns interfered long enough for Uso to go for the splash and win the match. But that didn't stop there. Because after the match, the Usos attacked Randy Orton with the steel steps and Jey Uso splashed Riddle through the table. And what's crazy is the reactions of the fans. Some of the fans were speechless, and there was a kid who was seen crying. Wow. I guess Sasha Banks is not the only person that can make a child cry. Sasha Banks makes kids cry when she's healed. Now Roman Reigns can be added to the list because Roman is not playing a character. He is the character. And let's be honest, some of you are happy about this, some of you are not. But come on, somewhere down the line we knew the Usos were gonna win the match. Let's be honest. They were gonna do what they can to make Roman Reigns and the bloodline unstoppable. Roman Reigns wears the shirt saying God mode. He's almost God. No offense. No offense. But either way, what do you think about tonight's broadcast of Friday Night Smackdown? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. That's all the time I have for you today. And Monday, you should see me because speaking of Roman, Monday, I'm doing a review on my top 10 favorite Roman Reigns matches as a heel Roman. So I'll see you then. Until next time, have a great weekend.